Influencers don't care if you go broke. Maybe this is obvious, maybe it isn't, but in the era of parasocial relationships and mass media, I think it's important to remind ourselves how little influencers and celebrities truly care about our financial futures. This has been on my mind a lot lately with the recent FTX collapse and the way that so many influencers were profiting from promoting the company through referral codes and sponsorships. If you don't know already, FTX is a crypto exchange company that was once valued at $32 billion with a B, but more recently it's filed for bankruptcy.
On the 11th, Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO, and FTX and Alameda filed for bankruptcy. More than $370 million worth of crypto funds appeared to be missing, according to crypto analytics firm Elliptic.
These days, there are a lot of allegations of fraud and severe mismanagement swirling around FTX and its former CEO, and the worst of all is that there are so many people who put money into FTX who are looking at the very real possibility of never seeing their money again.
I lost all of my money in FTX. I'm such an idiot. Don't be like me.
The Guardian did an article interviewing several of these investors, and they described how they've been unable to withdraw any funds from FTX ever since the collapse. These folks often had thousands tucked away, and just like that, it's likely gone forever. That money represents so many hours worked, so many nights eating in instead of dining out to save money, so many plans for future homes and retirement plans just vanishing. It's incredibly frustrating and awful to see. To me, one of the most frustrating parts of this all was how many people were lured into FTX because of the many flashy advertisements they had with influencers and celebrities.
I don't think so.
Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, and so many other traditional celebrities were all involved in these huge FTX campaigns, like the multi-million-dollar Super Bowl commercial that premiered earlier this year. Even Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, got wrapped up into this FTX advertising.
I feel very comfortable endorsing this product for what it does, provides as a service, and how it can help someone like me.
Not so Mr. Wonderful now. But those weren't the only folks who were pushing FTX to their audiences. A lot of influencers, especially financial influencers like here on YouTube, were also pushing FTX. Meet Kevin, Andre Geek, and Graham Stephan are just a few, but there were so many other financial influencers who were using referral codes and sponsorships to try to convert their audience to using FTX. Now, I'm not saying that any of these folks were intentionally trying to scam their audience or make their audience lose money. This video isn't to villainize these influencers and celebrities who are pushing FTX, or even to really be a takedown on influencer culture. Personally, the FTX situation strikes me as one where the CEO and his inner circle were committing fraud, but the investors and the endorsers didn't necessarily know about that. I mean, you have giant investment companies like BlackRock who were involved, and that gave it this sense of legitimacy. The CEO had been on the Forbes cover, which, granted, they don't have a great track record, but it lended this feeling of, oh, we can trust this. Now, do I believe the influencers and celebrities' apologies as they try to explain themselves? They still pushed an offshore company in an unregulated market with highly volatile risk assets. So yes, I think there's something valid about saying, oh, well, I didn't know there was fraud going on. At the same time, there's the reality of these people pushed an incredibly speculative space with very few disclaimers, or just not enough. And I think they owe it to their audiences now to not only be incredibly apologetic, but also incredibly transparent about how these deals happen, and really think about the deals that they promote in the future and how they can affect their audience. But who am I kidding? If there's money to be made, these influencers are gonna eat it up. It'll keep happening. It just is. Before it was this, it was the crypto pump and dump schemes that we saw the likes of Kim Kardashian and Logan Paul do. Before that, we had Dr. Oz pushing a multi-level marketing scheme for supplements. And at any given moment, you can find an obscene number of unnecessary products being pushed down our throats by TikTok stars, Instagram stars, YouTubers, movie stars, pop singers. By the way, I'm gonna just use influencer as the catch-all term for all those folks. So from here on out, I'm just gonna say influencer. Anyways, we need to accept the fact that these folks aren't looking out for us, and they never will, nor should we expect them to, because at the end of the day, our financial futures are going to matter the most to us, which is why we need to focus on our own decision making. And that's done by taking care of our financial health, which is more than just learning the rules of money management, like what is a 401k and why is dollar cost averaging useful. Those are certainly important, but I also think there's this whole other level that we often forget about when talking about financial education, and and that's our emotional side of things. Because our relationship with money is ultimately a very emotional relationship, and the way that we have grown up thinking about money influences it, but also the world around us, and learning to navigate those influences, whether it's celebrities and influencers talking to us or commercials or whatever else, learning to navigate that is really important to our financial health. So in this video, I want to dive into how influencers leverage their relationship with you to make money, and why it's so important to prioritize your financial health above all else. By the way, if you like these kinds of videos that dissect money, media, intentional living, be sure to subscribe and check out my other video essays. All right, let's start with the heart of this issue, which is parasocial relationships. If you've been on the internet long enough, you've definitely heard the phrase parasocial relationship before, and even if you haven't, you've definitely seen it at play. It's the reason so many people feel like they know the truth about Harry Styles' relationships, why they're so invested in the lives of BTS, or why they feel like Emma Chamberlain could be their bestie. Influencers of all shapes and sizes often play into parasocial relationships because it helps strengthen the connection their fans have to them. Take your favorite celebrity and look closely, and you'll probably see the different ways that they manufacture a level of intimacy.
Oh shit.
Like this BTS music video that makes it feel like you're on FaceTime. By the way, One Direction played that same game in 2014 with their Night Changes music video, a video I still get so much joy from. Partly because I love imagining the cameraman on the other side of all the boys' dates, but also because Niall catches on fire at the end and I think it's funny. Anyways though, you can even see this kind of leaning into the parasocial relationship with the type of phrases that influencers use.
Because of my family.
We are in this together.
My fans truly understand me.
I'd argue that Taylor Swift is the master of leaning into the parasocial relationship, and that's not to say that she doesn't appreciate her fans and that she's not thankful for it all, but I also suspect that she understands the importance of cultivating a really special feeling connection for fans and how that ultimately is going to boost her sales. These parasocial relationships are great for the rise and longevity of an influencer's career because it builds a loyal fan base, and it simultaneously builds a foundation of trust that can later be leveraged for monetization. The more you trust an influencer, the more likely you'll spend money at their recommendation, whether it's for movie tickets, merch, music, or even crypto exchanges. Going back to Taylor Swift, we can see an obvious example of a parasocial relationship being leveraged for profit with the recent Ticketmaster fiasco. If you don't know the situation, basically tickets for Taylor Swift's upcoming tour were not only extremely difficult to get, but extremely expensive because of the dynamic pricing that Taylor and her team put in place.
No, the prices were not fair for the Eras Tour. Look at this for Chicago. I wish I was joking. This little ticket gauger would not go lower than, $500. And then if you look on the left-hand side all the way over there, per ticket, $50,000. That's a whole salary.
A lot of people were frustrated with Taylor's decision to go with dynamic pricing because they felt like she was putting profit over people, with one prevailing theory being that Taylor is trying to beat the world record for ticket tour sales. And I totally get the frustration, but at the same time, I think it's interesting to ask where that frustration is coming from. Because every year you have Duke UNC basketball games where the tickets become tens of thousands of dollars, but you don't see anywhere near the backlash that you're seeing with Taylor's concert prices. I think we saw such a potent outrage from Taylor's fan base because the parasocial relationship she's cultivated is so strong. People feel like they know Taylor, like they could be her friend, and she always has their best interests at heart, even financial ones. But at the end of the day, Taylor Swift, as in lights on a billboard, face across a million screens Taylor Swift, is a brand. It's a business like any other. And that's why it's imperative for us as consumers to look beyond the parasocial relationships when we're being advertised to. I think we tend to put influencers on a pedestal and we make them these unofficial deities that we assign narratives to, whether that's in the form of inspiration or relatability or some belief of expertise. And because of our parasocial relationships with these influencers, we lend them a level of credibility. And that makes us vulnerable to being sold things that might not ultimately be best for us. It can even happen indirectly. Like, yes, Kylie Jenner is pushing her Kylie Cosmetics on us, but she's also indirectly selling us a life of hyper overconsumption that, if emulated, could lead to financial ruin. Not to mention it's awful for the environment. We have to remember that our relationships with influencers are their currency. The more that we trust them, the bigger brand deals they can get and the more products they can sell. So it's important that we be critical of influencer messaging and what we're being sold. Speaking of which, what are we being sold? In the case of the FTX collapse, many people were sold the idea of getting rich quick. We saw stories of Dogecoin millionaires made overnight, and many people wanted in. I mean, the idea of getting in was the whole concept behind this FTX ad.
What do you think? Are you in?
You know what? I'm in.
Yo, what's up? Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm in.
I'm in. Hey, Arthur, I quit.
I'm in.
You can even see a guy quitting his job the second he gets a call about FTX, as if he's never gonna have to work again. We're often being sold these big ideas, whether it's being suddenly rich, suddenly thin, suddenly beautiful. It's the whole tactic the beauty industry is built upon. Beautiful people with polished photos touting products that we are subliminally told will make us look just as gorgeous. By simply introducing these fantasy stories, we're given something to compare ourselves to. It can then make us feel lesser than, more insecure, and more likely to buy into the story they're selling.
My mother tells me there is never too much moisturizer. Moisturize, moisturize, moisturize.
It's interesting to think about how we'd feel if we didn't have these stories constantly told to us. Like if we weren't told that we could be happier and skinnier and more beautiful and richer, would we crave it so deeply? Would we be so willing to fork over our hard-earned money for products and services that claim to do these things? My guess is no. Not to say that people wouldn't still crave these stories, but I think the pressure and desire would be so much less. Part of why it's so easy to fall into these sales pitches is because they play perfectly into the dream that was fabricated for ourselves by media and advertisements. Add in the trust and aspirational elements that you have from parasocial relationships with influencers, and you have a recipe for spending money very poorly. One of the reasons I find personal finance endlessly fascinating is how human it is. Personal finance is emotional. People think it's just facts and figures, but if that was the case, we would see so many more people not in credit card debt, so many more people with fully funded retirement accounts, because the information is out there. You have the world of knowledge free at your fingertips if you want it. But that's not what makes or breaks personal finance. It's the emotions behind your relationship with money, which is why it's important to consider the way that these stories that were sold are actively hijacking that relationship. If we can all step back and identify the stories that we're being told and how influencers are trying to shape our money habits, then I think we'll all end up in better financial places. Because these influencers selling us these stories, they don't care if we never contribute to our retirement counts or if we swallow ourselves in debt buying their products. They don't care. So we have to look out for ourselves and our own financial health. A motto I like to follow is question everything. I think that everything deserves at least a little bit of questioning or critique, even if you end up in the same place after. Two of the questions I often ask myself are, what is motivating someone to do this? And who is making money if I choose to act a certain way? This extends to so many different things, and yes, influencers are one of them. I like to question why an influencer wants me to think a certain thing, or buy into a certain product, or act a certain way. How does it ultimately benefit them? And I do think there are times that influencers are doing things for altruistic purposes, but then the question becomes, what ways and values are they defining their altruism by? And does that align with what values I have for defining altruism? Because perhaps their version of a better world is not the same as mine. Even me, as small an influencer as I am, you should question me, because I can write these long essays and I can edit it to look pretty, but at the end of the day, I am a person who is espousing her beliefs and her perspectives, and they might differ from yours. So question me and question others. And this extends beyond influencers too. Think about something like Facebook, and you might question why so much misinformation is spread on there and why so many arguments happen on there. And through that questioning, you might come to this conclusion that the more that Facebook's content can provoke me, the more engaged I'll be, and therefore the more money Facebook will ultimately make. I'm not saying we're gonna have all the answers by questioning things, or that our beliefs are even gonna stay the same over time, but I think this practice of questioning things is a really good habit for us to get into, especially when it comes to our finances. Follow the money. Figure out if they could profit by you going broke doing whatever it is that they're recommending. The other important thing I think we could all use some more of is just learning more about personal finance. Learning to be more frugal, learning to manage our money, learning to invest responsibly and secure ourselves financially. Remember to always do your own research and look out for yourself, because influencers certainly won't. All right, well, now that that's out of the way, do you guys want to buy into my crypto scheme? I swear you'll make so much money. It is not a pyramid scheme, really. If you're not going to buy into my crypto scheme, I will say thank you so much for watching and getting to the end of this video. And also, please let me know what you think. I'm really curious what people think about influencers when they're pushing anything, not just crypto, but also just products in general. How do you guys feel about it? What are your thoughts about parasocial relationships? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like video essays like this, if you want more of this kind of content, make sure you subscribe and also like this video so it helps with the algorithm. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hoping to have another video essay up in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to make these videos twice a month. They just take really long. So right now it's monthly, but I'm hoping to up that. If you guys have any ideas for videos, let me know. Stay safe out there. Be smart with your money. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.